What's going on, guys? It's me, Zach, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And this one, I'm going to go over a couple players that are going undrafted in your drafts that I think are still worth taking a look at in case you ended up with a couple guys that maybe you're not too happy with. Maybe you sort of got caught off guard towards the tail end of your draft and ended up with a few players that you think are worth dropping. Or maybe you haven't done your draft yet. Maybe you got your draft this weekend, and these are guys that you think you should target towards the tail end of your drafts that are really going to give you a nice boost and give you some really league winning upside that I personally been targeting a lot in my drafts and have on many of my rosters as well. Before we do get into the video, I do want to again take a minute to thank all of you guys for all the support we've been getting. We cracked 240 subscribers today, and we're seem to be only going up from here, so that's super exciting. If this is your first time on the channel, I do appreciate you stopping by. I hope I can give you some advice and help you out throughout the course of the season. If you do like any of the videos or like this video at all, please do feel free to give it a like and drop a comment if you have any comments or pointers you'd like to give me or any questions you have as well. And please do subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you get notifications when I put out videos. I do make 3 videos every week for free, so hopefully you guys can take advantage of that content and really just sort of enjoy the ride with me this season. One more update I do want to give is that the website rankings are live along with the auction draft values I've assigned to players. So please do feel free to use those this week. If you got your draft this weekend, I personally use them during my drafts, and I hope that they can help you throughout yours if you haven't necessarily had your draft as well. So I hope that works for you. And with that, let's get into the video. So the first guy I want to talk about here is somebody that I wish I had a lot more of on my teams this season, and that's Darrell Henderson. People might not really realize this, but he was the running back 11 early on in the season. I believe it was through 9 or 10 weeks where he was the healthy starter for the Los Angeles Rams last season. And I think that's a lot more likely to happen this season again than people are giving it credit for. I think that it's just really becoming more and more unlikely that Cam Akers returns to health. We're already seeing him deal with some soft tissue injuries just throughout the course of training camp, and we're sort of seeing the writing on the wall with all of these other running backs that are coming back from Achilles injuries. We've got Deonta Foreman, who couldn't beat out Chuba Hubbard for the running back 2 role in Carolina. And then we've seen Marlon Mack get cut by the Texans. And I don't really think the Texans have much depth there. So to see them cut Mack there is really a pretty solid indictment on just how difficult it's been for these running backs to come back from those Achilles injuries. And like I said, we see Akers already dealing with a soft tissue injury. The report came out, I want to say on Sunday, that he wasn't yet running at full speed. He did return to practice earlier this week, so there's a chance that Cam Akers is available week 1, but there's also a very legitimate chance that Darrell Henderson is the week 1 starter there. And in any week where Darrell Henderson has that backfield to himself, I think he's going to be a pretty smash high-end RB2, and you're getting him for free. And really, I think there's not really much of a reason to assume that there's that great of a difference between Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers in terms of what they're going to produce this season. And one is going at the very end of drafts, and the other one's going in the 4th or 5th round in that running back dead zone. So I love getting Darrell Henderson here because of that upside, and I think that my appreciation for Darrell Henderson is sort of coupled with my overall just disbelief that Cam Akers is going to be anything relevant this season. But I'm really happy with all the teams I do have Darrell Henderson on. I think he's got a lot of upside. It's going to be really easy to know when you need to start him. You just play him in any week where Akers isn't available, and there might become a time where you find that they are splitting both of these backs, and they're both sort of low-end flex plays, but on any week where either one is missing, the other one's going to be elite, and Darrell Henderson is free, so I love getting him this season. The next player I want to talk about here is Devante Parker. I think that Devante Parker really has flown under the radar this offseason, and that's honestly surprising to me. He does poise to be the wide receiver 1 in New England this season. New England gave up pretty significant draft capital to get him from the Dolphins this offseason. They sent over a 3rd-round draft pick, and if you compare that to what you've seen teams trade for guys like Amari Cooper, or I believe it was a 5th-round pick, and we just saw Jalen Reagor go for a 6th-round pick today. So they clearly intend to use him, or they wouldn't have sent over that high of a draft capital. And that's sort of a position that the Patriots have really struggled to fill, and that's a big-bodied receiver that really gives them an advantage down the field and an end zone target. So I think that there's a very legitimate shot for Devante Parker to put up maybe career highs in his touchdown totals this season, especially given that there could be an argument to be made that this is going to be the best quarterback he's had throughout the course of his career if Mac Jones does take that sophomore leap. And we've already seen Devante Parker perform at an elite level. I believe 3 years ago he finished as the wide receiver 9 in PPR formats. So we know Devante Parker can be a wide receiver 1. And many years ago when he was a rookie himself, he was drafted as the first wide receiver in, I want to say, the 2016 NFL draft. I could be wrong there, but regardless, Devante Parker was drafted to be great in the NFL, and he's shown flashes of that. He's just sort of struggled with inconsistent quarterback play and just inconsistency all around him. But if things go right for Devante Parker, he really could put up double-digit touchdowns this season. And again, you're getting him at the very end of your drafts. You're getting him for free. In one of my drafts this week, I picked Michael Gallup with my last pick, and then I put Michael Gallup on IR and immediately went and added Devante Parker. So that's in the league that I have the most. It's got the largest buy-in, and it's probably my most competitive league. And the fact that I was still able to get Devante Parker for free off waivers after my draft is an absolute steal to me, given that I think he's got a legitimate shot to be a pretty consistent wide receiver 3 or flex this season. And again, you're getting him for free, so I love the value on Parker this season. So another player I want to talk about here is Isaiah McKenzie. McKenzie's certainly flown under the radar as well this offseason just because of all the buzz that's been surrounding Gabe Davis. But believe it or not, Isaiah McKenzie certainly looks to have won the starting slot role in the Bills offense. He's going to be on the field in 3 wide receiver sets. And I think a lot of people are sort of just shrugging that off because they did bring in Jamison Crowder in the offseason. And Crowder's been a pretty consistent, mediocre receiver in the NFL throughout the course of his career. So people just assume that Crowder's going to be the guy there. But Isaiah McKenzie is a younger and better version of Jamison Crowder, and arguably a younger, better version of what Cole Beasley's been the past couple years. And the past few years, Cole Beasley's been pretty usable in fantasy. He's been a really nice wide receiver 3 flex play, and he's honestly had upside beyond that. And there are a ton of targets available in this Bills offense this season with Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders departing. And on top of that, Isaiah McKenzie himself has already flashed before. He's had really 2 games in his career so far where he's been the primary slot target. And in each of those games, he put up pretty monster performances. He had 9 receptions for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game against, I want to say, the Dolphins in 2020. And then last season, in their last, I think it was week 16, he put up 12 for 125 and a touchdown against the Patriots. And like I said, there's certainly upside in this Bills offense. There's going to be plenty of volume to go around between all of these receivers. So if McKenzie finds his way onto the field in 3 wide receiver sets, which I think he's going to, he's going to be on the field a lot given how frequently the Bills are going to run those sets. And if he gets even a 15, a 14% target share, he's going to be getting 6, maybe 7 targets every game, especially in games where they project to really to put up more points than they should have to in other games. So McKenzie's going to be a guy that certainly could be a usable flex almost every single week. And if something were to happen to Diggs or Davis, I think he's more than capable of sliding in as a capable wide receiver 2 and really putting up elite numbers in those weeks. So I'm excited about Isaiah McKenzie this season, and I really think that this is going to be the year that maybe he even makes Gabe Davis sort of seem less relevant. And that's sort of one of my hesitations with Gabe Davis, but I still have Gabe Davis projected to be the number 2 receiver there. I just think that if McKenzie does break out, which I sort of think he could, could sort of take away from Gabe Davis as well. But like I said, again, Isaiah McKenzie's free. He's going, I want to say his ADP is like pick 240 per Fantasy Pros. So he's certainly going for free, and I think he's got upside and could be usable even in week 1 if you need him. The last guy I want to talk about here is Wandel Robinson. I think that Wandel Robinson is again sort of being flown under the radar, mostly just because of the team he's on. And I get it, yeah, the New York Giants are going to be a bad team again, and their offense is going to be below average again. But I think a world exists where Wandale is sort of forced to lead this team in targets. We see pretty clearly now that Kenny Golladay is washed. I think if it weren't for the fact that his dead cap hit is something like $33 million this season, I think the Giants probably would have cut him. He just doesn't seem to want to even be there, and he's not producing. I'm more than comfortable assuming that Kenny Golladay is going to do absolutely nothing this season. And there was even reports of Colin Johnson potentially replacing Kenny Golladay on the depth chart, but we saw Colin Johnson be lost to an Achilles injury just a couple weeks ago. So we see pretty clearly there's an opening in this offense. And we also see that Kadarius Toney himself can't stay healthy. We've got Darius Slayton, who doesn't seem to be very involved. And Sterling Shepard's a receiver also coming off of an Achilles injury. And I've talked about those Achilles injuries already, but you really just can't count on a player coming off of one of them to perform at all. So a world really exists where there are several weeks this season where Wandale Robinson is the only healthy wide receiver in this offense. And he's really talented in space. I think even if everything went perfectly for the Giants, they were still going to make an effort to get him the ball in space and really script plays for him. And they were going to give him some end arounds, give him some carries out of the backfield, and use him in the slot all over the field, really. And I think that's also part of why they've been pretty comfortable not necessarily addressing a backup running back position, because I think they're going to give him some snaps out of the running back spot. So they're going to get the ball in Wandale Robinson's hands. And if he actually turns out to be a really talented receiver, which I think he might, he's got pretty high draft capital. And I think a lot of people thought it was sort of a wasted pick just because they already had Kadarius Toney. But Wandel Robinson certainly has the talent to be an effective NFL player, and he also should just be extremely necessary to this offense. So you're getting a potential wide receiver one for this offense if Tony can't stay healthy, and that really could put up some really quality numbers. I think that the Giants aren't going to be able to really be ahead in many games this season, so they're going to have to throw the ball more than they want to. And if Robinson's getting a 20+% target share, he really could be a quality starting asset for you in fantasy all season. And like I said, they're going to script plays for him, so you can sort of guarantee a relatively safe floor with him. And I think that's just not being factored into his ADP at all. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.